Nerd reactor, roll out.
New season, things are getting crazy for your characters. Like I think you guys are going on the deep end. There was like the highs, and now it's like the lows of the lows. So what is that like tackling the characters for each of you?
Well, David, do you want to go?
No, I was percolating.
Okay.
Go on, Tam, shoot us.
Yeah, it was really fun having seen our character, well, for me, Imogen in the Berg, being a kind of high society lady. It was really fun to obviously to send her off in a ship at the end of season 1, but then for her and Agreus to hit this rather large snag early on in season 2. It was really fun to really flip the script on what's happening, and what's happening to them, and Imogen's power kind of gets completely taken away, really, and she's completely thrown off her pedestal. She's no longer in charge of anything, and that's really fun to kind of come in with the same character but in a really vastly different situation. So as an actor, it was challenging and it was enjoyable, and it was also super fun to have Joanne Wally to play with as well as these two awesome guys. So yeah, it feels like our storyline to me feels some like in a play within a play. It almost feels like we have our own little playground that we play in, kind of adjacent to Carnival Row, and it was really wild to go on a journey to another land, shall we say, without doing any spoilers.
What's interesting to say about that, Tamzin, is also in season 2. I mean, without giving any spoilers away, I got to maybe play as Ezra with some characters that I never got to play with in season 1, and actually missed working with David and Tamzin, and felt kind of the natural aloneness of Ezra, being isolated from his sister and something happening to him that he never thought would happen. He never thought that he would lose his sister. He never thought, that he'd be in such close proximity to a fawn taking away his sister. And yeah, so it's like all those nightmarish obstacles that landed on his doorstep have kind of put him in a position in the beginning of season 2, which is just a real exciting position to play as an actor.
Oh, yeah, you too, David, with just everything being taken away from you.
Yeah, it was, to be honest, it was a bit nerve-wracking. And here's why, because I think season 1 sets up this story, and they managed to overcome a lot of things to fall in love. And then they go, do you know what? Let's just sail away and find a land. But they're in the world, and the world has these same kind of oppressive situations there. So what happens is they go, we're in love. And now they go, what does that look like? And digging deep, like literally nerve-wracking, reading each episode and go, do they stay together? Was it real? How like I felt myself being nervous, discovering what their fate would be, if I'm really honest with you.
I love the pairing for this, for you two, Jamie and Jay, two opposite ends, your characters, just coming together, fighting each other. So what was that like, just being on the set and just one side, just both sides are furious, but one side's evil, the other side's good. So what was that like?
It's hard playing the good character all the time.
I mean, it's interesting because like it depends on what point of view you take. I mean, like for me, who is the good guy? I mean, like they're both fighting for the same thing of their way of life, protecting their loved ones. I think we see, the circumstances behind what makes Dombey click and how he is, and we see the circumstances that push Kane to do the things that he does. But it's very, very interesting way, because I think that everyone's going to be able to, not necessarily like you say there's a good and bad, but just like Jamie said earlier, I think you're going to have a bit more understanding as to where both characters come from.
And this universe deals with humans and the non-humans, and the fairies and all that. So I want to ask Jamie, what is it like just being a human? Like if you're looking at all the other actors getting to have like the wings or the horns and all that, do you ever feel jealous? Like, I want to try that one day.
I mean, in a simple answer, no. But I did. It was fascinating walking into the row on any given day on the set, and you saw the mass of people and the time put into each character, and I mean the extras as much as the actors. It was really walking into a world that was brutal, but a world that was also, it was family orientated. You saw fays and pixies, they had their little children with them, and it was a really, it was an amazing experience to walk through that. And even as I played the brutal character, there was a feeling of you entering into a world, and unfortunately, I was as much as the contaminator as anything else in that. You know, you walk in and destroy. But as Jay says, I am protecting my way of life, my child, my family, and I feel, unfortunately, in the world, that's what everyone does. I've got to destroy someone else to protect my way of life, right? And it just doesn't need to be that way. And I think as the story progresses, I think you start to see Dombey realizing that.
Oh yeah. And Jay, since you get to play the fairies with the wings, do you ever, pretty sure like the stunts and whatever, the ropes to fly high, do you do anything like crazy like that?
Yeah, I mean, like all of it was pretty amazing. I mean, like I've never done any kind of rope work like this before, and you know, we did like training. We had to do like training as to like how to take off and land, and a lot of it's like hydraulics and stuff. So you have to like time your jump and stuff. And then a lot of the flying stuff was, you had to look like you're flying, you know, like everyone thinks it's easy. It's not. It's very, very difficult. You have to like a lot of core work and keeping your legs up. And so it started off really fun. And then afterwards, when you realize how much hard work it was, it got a bit tricky. But there were times when we'd have to, there's a scene where me and Vignette have to land on the train tracks, and we did it with the ropes. So you're coming in and you have to land, but you have to land like you've done this hundreds of times. So you couldn't stumble, you couldn't overbalance. And it was like really difficult sometimes because you have to land on a spot. But when you got it right and got it, you really feel like you'd achieved something.
Oh yeah, so it's all about on the outside making it look like you've done this, but on the inside, like, yes, woo, I did, I put it off. Yeah,
because the balance is gone. You're like coming in at different speeds and stuff like that. You've got to hit a mark, and also like you don't have that much landing space, and you can't stumble, you can't overbalance, go whoa, and pull yourself.
Oh yeah,
you have to land and look cool, you know. So yeah, it was good when you got it right. It was fun.
You guys are looking a lot friendlier in person compared to your characters on the show.
Yeah, hopefully.
So the second season, it gets you guys are very ambitious, and now with the Arty, you're now the chancellor, so you're reigning with an iron fist. So what is that like for both your characters with your ambition?
I wouldn't say it's an iron fist, unfortunately, for Jonah. It's more of a sort of a tentatively clasped human fist. You know, he's really unsure of his desire to rule, let alone his ability to rule. So there's a lot of uncertainty for Jonah, and he's like fighting within himself to sort of you know, discover who he is and what he really wants to do, but is always open to the influence of others, as you saw in season 1 and as you will see in season 2.
Caroline, your character's Sophie, she knows what she wants. She does things, she plans things, and I think she's at a good point where she's the one to watch out for. So what was that like for season 2, just getting to that level?
Yeah, I mean, she's absolutely the one pulling the strings, and I think her battle at the beginning of season 2 is trying to manipulate Jonah in the best way she can. in order to stay in a position of power, and to keep their relationship strong. And I think that is a struggle for her, because she has to almost, she has to not say everything she's thinking. She has to drip feed ideas to him. She has to play a slow game of cat and mouse with him. Yeah, which is fun, but I think it's a challenge for her, because she knows that she could rule pretty well.
Oh yeah. And it's definitely with Sophie, no, she plans things ahead, and so you're I feel like you're like a lot of things beforehand before everyone else. So what's that like reading the script and seeing that, and just being like, yes, I like this.
Yeah, I love that. I wish that in real life I was like that. I think it was good for me. I always tried to make sure that I knew more than everyone else, just in every moment that I was, on the set, in the scene, that she is always 10 steps ahead. So try and just imagine what those 10 steps are, and then imagine that no one else knows them. Pretty fun.
Arty, what you mentioned, like just your character is kind of unsure, but also ruling, and so there's this, like a certain nuance to the character, and you flesh things out. I kind of feel sorry for him, but then he does things where I'm like, man, this guy's an asshole. So what is that? Just trying to balance things out between those.
Yeah, I think, he's never trying to be an arsehole, Jonah. I mean, he really is constantly trying to do the right thing. I think he's trying to live up to, unlike when his parents were around, but when he didn't appreciate them, I think in this season, he is kind of, I think he misses them a little bit and misses their guidance. And I think, it was interesting playing that, as you say, that kind of slightly nuanced state of wanting to take control, but not fully knowing how. And a lot of the scenes are kind of finely balanced between Jonah trying to behave as the Chancellor, but then not really knowing what that is. So it was actually a real treat from an acting perspective to occupy that slightly uncertain space, and because you never quite knew how you were going to play a scene.
That's a cool backdrop.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, I should have some
lots
stuff.
of toys.
I didn't make it up to you by getting some Daredevil stuff and Carnival Row stuff too.
It's all right. It's a little soft focus, so you could have probably just lied and said it was all Daredevil stuff, and I would have been like, oh man, thank you.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So second season, it's getting really intense, and there's like the part for me that was shocking, just to see how crazy like the society is, and just their hatred, like the humans' hatred towards the others. So what was that like for you, like getting into this and crafting this world that can like how far can you go?
Well, the writers and I started with the idea of what did we want to say that was meaningful and would put something positive out into the world, right? And great fantasy explores in parable form the problems that society is going through in real life, right? So obviously the creators of season 1 seeded a lot of very provocative ideas, and there were a lot of kind of uncomfortable topics that mirrored like the divisions that we're all living through right now. So the writers and I wanted to take the next step of that journey and ask a couple philosophical questions. The first was, how should we look at ourselves in the mirror? Like, what defines who we are? Are we defined by our DNA that our parents had and we didn't get any choice in the matter? We were born this and we were born where we were born. Or are we defined by the actions that we take, the choices we make, and how we treat others when we're on the planet and interacting? Like, how do we face dilemma? Are we a moral person? Are we an immoral person? And so each of the characters that was introduced in season 1, we decided to say, well, let's have all of those different characters answer that question differently in season 2. And go down different roads with the second philosophical question, which is, how does one respond to social injustice? Do you fight back with love? Do you fight back with hate? Do you fight back with trying to work within the system and slowly over time rectify those injustices? Or do you take to the streets? Do you pick up arms, turn violent, right? All of those questions are happening here. They're happening, I mean, we were just watching what happened in Brazil a week and a half ago. We're seeing it happen in Ukraine. We're seeing it happen everywhere, right? So it's sadly a part of the human condition that people divide themselves up into tribes of different kinds. And it allowed us to take this very cool, lush fantasy world and ask meaningful questions that hopefully when the audience sees it, they're going to be like, wow, it's not just a roller coaster of a fantasy epic with great romance and cool sequences and creatures and awesome visuals and sets and costumes and action, but actually underneath all of that, it has something interesting to ask and think about.